Now, for the longest time, for about 4 or 5 months, I thought, okay, maybe I'm imagining she was a hybrid, but she was kind of weird. The whole thing was weird, and the things that she talked to me about, and she had also there's a Japanese older guy that was on top of airport lookout, and he walked right past us, and he kind of looked over at me. He looked at her. I said, "Why didn't you say hi to him?" And she says, "We don't do that." I said, "He's a Japanese." She said, "We don't do that in public." I said, "What?" I felt that was strange. There was a lot of strange. He must have been her human contact here on Earth, and then the other guy was her security. So that's how I felt about that. And yeah, she didn't know how to check out of a motel room or anything, if she was even in a motel room. I don't really know.
Interesting. Now, where do you want to go from here?
I'm still investigating. I'm still making notes. I'm still talking on radio, trying to get the truth out there and what is going on and the things. I think with the disclosure that's going on, I want everybody to know that it's real. It's out there. And I think all my family and the people close to me, and my wife even, she's had a scrape on her back where they took a DNA scraping on her back, and the dermatologist didn't know what it was, and it didn't go away. It took about 7 or 8 months for it to go away, and it looked like just a scrape, some kind of a small razor scrape or something. So I guess they were checking her DNA out. But that abduction I had, the big one, I was almost electrocuted. I felt a baby's hand in my left hand, and it was fingers and a palm. And then I felt something heavy set beside me against my hip, and that's what scared me out of my wits. Now, you talk about being afraid. I was afraid because I didn't know what was coming next, and I was paralyzed to where I couldn't defend myself anyway. So I screamed out, "Oh, God, help me." And then just a few seconds later, it just kind of all went away. And David Jacobs, I talked to him about that, and he said, well, the electrocution part of it, when you feel like you've been electrocuted, he said that's when they're done with you. They're bringing you back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, Gary, like I said, I'd like to find out more. I'd like to find out why. I do run into some strange people sometimes, like they seem like they're enlightened, and sometimes they'll stand there and stare at me, and they do walk amongst us, so they're out there, and you just have to know how to pick them out. Sometimes they're in a place where they don't belong, and I see people like that every once in a while. I can feel the energy. I think I developed more of a third eye. My wife says I have a third eye. I also have electricity in my body where I can't even take pictures with my cell phone sometimes. Not sometimes, just almost all the time. I can press it and press it and press it. They won't go off. I give it to somebody else, and they press it once, and it goes off. So, and my wife feels the electricity when I touch her, and I grab her by the shoulder, and I put my hands on her shoulder or whatever, and she said, your electricity's hurting me. She said, wow, you got a lot of electricity tonight. So I guess my DNA was shocked by all that electrocution I went through.
Or something. Though you want to know what's going on. What happens if it's something you find out you don't want to know? Well, it's either they're here to help mankind, or they're maybe here to do the opposite. You know, remember the old TV show, The Invaders? Right. What happens if you're going out there and you're trying to find out what happened, what their motives are, and all that stuff? And if it's what do you do if you find out it's not to benefit mankind? I mean, that's going to, I hate to say it could cause real bad emotion problems for you, because then you're going to have to carry that, and then you're going to have to try to explain to people. That's the hard part, because, you know, Calvin Parker has been on my show. A lot of people have been on my show that, you know, have been abducted, and they all, at least the ones I really believe. Well, James, what do they normally say?
Well, they're scared to go to bed at night, for one. I mean, even Calvin, he pretty much stays up all night because of the thought of maybe that's the night they're going to come again. And, that's a lot of anxiety, a lot of post-traumatic stress.
And evil.
And they say they're evil. Yes,
yeah, evil.
They're evil.
Right. Well, here's the other thing too that we're overlooking at this point. When they come, you don't know it. They're going to knock you out. I walked through my front metal door one night in an abduction, and something was leading me, or some entities, two of them was behind me, and they was telling me to walk through the door, and it was a metal door. So I didn't want to hit my head, so I put my hand up, and then my hand went through the door, and I stuck it through halfway through, and they raised my frequency so I can do this. You have to be of a higher frequency than what we are. And then I put it through there, and it started burning my arm. I had it in there too long. So I figured I better finish going through the door before my arm gets burned off. So I walked through the door. After that, I don't know what happened after that. I guess I was beamed up and knocked out. Well, a lot of times you don't really realize that you can go to bed really tired. One of the symptoms is being tired. You go to bed really tired, and you think, well, okay, I've had a rough day, and you go to bed, and that's when they're kind of putting you down. They're putting you asleep. They start giving you a sedative with this electromagnetic energy, and they put you out, so you're not going to be frightened, and you're not going to be going out of your head a lot of times. I've had some scary moments, yes, I have, but most of the time, I think what I see, I'm not going to let it get to me like that. I shook off the combat thing, so I can damn sure shake this off. I mean, they seem to be just touch and go with me. So, and I would like to see and hear more from them. I don't know, some people have had different experiences, but I can tell you the experiences I've had have been scary, yes, but I keep my face forward and I want to find out more. Would I be afraid if they walked in and they lifted me out of my bed? And yeah, if I realize what's going on, but most of the time you really don't know what's going on. I think there's certain things that they have to do that they have to keep you awake when they have you on board ship. They have to keep you going, because the one night that they erased my memory, this was in Sedona, and they walked me back and forth in the room. This was in the middle of the night, and they had this bright light, and they were shining it in my eyes, up and down my face. And every time it hit my eyes, it hurt. And I saw two entities sitting at the small table, and I remember them showing that light in my face. And also I found out just 2-3 weeks ago, the scientists said that light frequencies actually can change your brain. It can actually erase a lot of your memory, and they might be using that now. So I didn't know that until about 3 or 4 weeks ago that they were doing that, and I found this out back in 2010, I guess it was.
Interesting. A lot of people think now that when you go through your door, or they come walking in for your bedroom or your house or your car or anything, that they create a portal where they come in and they take you out for that portal. So it still looks like your screen door or your door, but it's actually they're opening a portal to transport you. And that makes some sense. But, again, what I'm scared about is how do we know that when we're walking down the street, we're looking at another humanoid, not an alien? And could there be an equal amount of aliens walking among us now? That is the scary part. And it also makes me wonder why. Why do they need to keep abducting people? Why do they have to do cattle mutilations? Why, if they're just collecting DNA or checking stuff, they should have had enough samples from the last couple thousand years. So there's some other motive going on at this point. They're certainly not. They're not here.
They're doing an doing an environmental check.
Well, I don't know. They're not here to serve man, because they're not stopping Antarctica from melting. They're not stopping wars. They're not curing cancer. That's the things I look at. But we sure, our climate is changing, and it is changing fast now. Maybe, do you ever think maybe they're waiting for our doom and speeding up our doom so they can create their hybrids to walk among us, to live when we're gone?
That's true. They're getting ready for another phase of human. They've from all indication, you watch Ancient Aliens and you watch the documentaries, the Anunnaki and this type of thing, 65,000 years ago, where the Anunnaki did some DNA manipulation of us and made us into the modern humanoids we are now. So they actually made us. So I think some people were saying, or some scientists saying, why would they want to destroy us if they made us? That's another thought that you might want to think about.
Yeah, but we could be looking at a different species here, not the ones that originally made us. So, that's another thing. We don't know what species created man and manipulated man. And I do go and believe that originally the Earth has been rebooted several times.
Oh, yes.
And I stress this a lot, like the Incas, and all the Mayas and all this stuff. For some reason, they had a passion for gold, not lead, not pewter, but gold. Now, the only reason they could, and they knew it was precious, the only way I would think they would know it was precious is maybe somebody came down that was, how can I say it, going for our Earth and taking the minerals they need, which probably is gold, because in electronics, gold is the precious material you can use, then silver. Maybe that's where these people started realizing, hey, gold is worth something. That's how they started hoarding it themselves. It's a lot of things you think about it. But again, just because the different type of sightings of these different aliens, maybe an alien race did create man and changed our DNA to where we're at today. But that doesn't mean the aliens that are coming down are the same ones. So they might have some other motive. Maybe they're on a planet that's dying. Maybe it's a planet, because a lot of reports of UFOs are coming from the ocean and all this stuff. It makes, like Preston Demmett, talks about that. Sometimes I wonder if we got a species here that their only motive is our demise, to speed it up.
And of course, we might have a couple of species here that are trying to keep us safe, just like the UFOs that are over these nuclear these missile facilities that try to shut them down and play with them. That shows us that they're trying to tell us they don't want us to destroy each other, because it's when they want to do it, not when we want to do it. They want to be in control, and they are in control. They're in control of everything, more so than what we think. I did see a tall Nordic in my real vivid lucid dream of a regression, and I was on a mothership. I called it Noah's Ark. At the end of the dream, I called it Noah's Ark because when I walked in, it had a long hallway, and here, the same thing, shiny metallic walls. I walked down into this one big room, and there's a lot of entities in there. I couldn't see what they looked like, but I saw 3 podiums, and there was an entity holding a rope or a leash on something that looked like a kangaroo, some kind of a kangaroo creature, and another one I couldn't really tell. It was kind of standing up. It could have been a monkey-type creature that they had. And I thought to myself when I walked back.
Oh, hey, Dave, I got to jump in. We got to go for our last break of the show.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I'm going to give you 15 minutes, to say what you want to share out there to all the listeners. So, okay. Instead of me asking you questions and directing you every which way, I want you, from your heart to tell the listeners what you think is really going on and what you feel. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark.
You thirst for some significance of the both dimensional kind. You enter